Welcome to the Cory Lee Show, where our focus is on building leaders and transforming culture. My name is Cory Lee, and in each episode, I aspire to ignite something on the inside of you that encourages you to grow yourself and to make an impact on the world around you. Welcome to the Cory Lee Show. Well, welcome back to the Cory Lee Show. Hey guys, got another great episode today. Got my friend Chuck Parish on. And by the way, Chuck, you were on the podcast last year, and your podcast episode, mine and your conversation, had the most downloads of any other conversation I had or any other episode that I did last year. So the bar is pretty high. The expectations, Chuck, are super high. Now, I know this is going to be a good conversation. Chuck's got a ton of wisdom. Chuck is a pastor, but he also, very much like myself, he does leadership training, does speaking, coaching, and just really mentoring and pouring in the lives of other people. And Chuck is a man of great wisdom. Like I said, he's someone that I can go to. And then, one of our mentors, Chuck, he always said, before you ask somebody what they think, make sure there's somebody who actually thinks. Well, Chuck is someone that I know who thinks about his answers and has a spirit of wisdom about him. And so anyway, Chuck Parish, welcome to the Cory Lee Show again. Man, it's awesome to be back. Yeah, no doubt. How cool is that? The most downloads. What that tells me, man, you have some you have some very, very intelligent listeners, and man, your audience, they're the pick of the litter and cream of the crop and top of the heap, and there's some very wise people. Look, really, on the other side of the sound waves, yeah, right, yeah. No, what that tells me is you have a lot of folks that enjoy cornbread, because my disclaimer is when you hear me talking, you smell cornbread cooking. It's just that country. I grew up with a dad and with folks that surrounded me with life lessons that you could apply. And that's been my foundation in scripture and just in life and living it with practical things. And it's not just what my dad always taught me, but it was the life he lived in front of me. Mm-hmm. I learned more lessons by watching him live life than just the things he would tell me. So, I enjoy being with you. Looking forward to it. That's good. I love that. And that's why we kind of talk about, leadership or anything that you teach. There's taught and then there's caught. The taught part, that's just the information. Anybody can teach information. I can go read one of my books over there and tell you all about what I learned, but the caught part, that's the life experience. It's the information lived out. And that's what's caught. And that's what you're talking about with your dad. And so I love that. Well, Chuck, I know we got some good stuff to talk about today, but one of the things that I wanted to just kind of share with some of our listeners before we jump into some more content pieces is that me and you are partnering together. We're going to do a goal setting workshop called 2025, your best year yet. We're going to do it down where you're at, down there in Hattiesburg. We'll be at Pearl River Community College, and it's going to be a great time. And so for anyone listening who's interested in that, we'll have the links in the show notes for tickets there. Tickets are $100, but you want to get in the room to me, whenever I go to those things, the content's always good. But it's the networking and the connections that I make with other like-minded leaders. And so we want to make sure to facilitate that and have some good content. So looking forward to that. But Chuck, kind of take us what's going on in your world today. The last time you were on, you kind of shared with us a bit about your journey. But what are some of the things that you're working on today? Well, one thing, I'm glad you mentioned the workshop, because here's what you need to know. Folks, a person with a theory just has a theory. They just have the information. But a person that has an experience always trumps the theory. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about setting goals and you talk about your best year yet and those terms we use to lay out how do we measure what we want to do, you can read a lot of self-help things. You can read a lot of, you can download goal setting apps and all those things. But if all it is just some information you've gathered, you have a theory. Mm-hmm. But what's going to happen is you're going to hear experience talk. You're going to hear experience in the room. So you will leave with some actionable steps that have been proven by they've been lived. So you won't leave with a theory. You'll leave with some actionable steps. So yeah, I'm excited about that and what's going on. And here's the thing I've learned. I'm 56 years old now. I lose track of how old I am because I really don't keep up with it. And here's what I realized. There are times I've gone through life, and what kept me up at night was my worries, my problems, things I needed to fix. And I would get so absorbed into that. And that's human nature. That doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you, that you have concerns. But I have found myself in the past year, somebody asked a question the other day, it may have been you, Cory. What are you thinking about at 2:00 in the morning? And that really resonated with me, because here's what I've realized. The thing that keeps me up at night now is not my problems. It's my vision.
Yeah.
And there's such a hunger, there's such a desire. When I use that word vision, it's the fulfilling of my purpose. It's that thing is what drives me. And we have moments. I've experienced them in the last few weeks, last month. You have things that happen, and sort of like a boxing match. You can prepare for the blows that you see your opponent happening, and you can counter those, and you can even absorb the pressure of it when you see it happening. But it's that blow you don't see coming. It's the one you didn't see it, and it's called being blindsided. And so when you get those, and it rattles the cobwebs loose, and it does all those things. And if you're not careful, you'll slip into that old habit.
Yeah.
And I that's when I realized that you have to notice who's in your corner. Turn around, look, like, who's there? Do you have a good cut man? Do you have a trainer, a coach that's speaking life to you? Do you have someone that's going to pop the stool down there for you and let you rest your legs? Who is in your corner? Or is there someone standing in there and they're holding that oil ready to throw it in for you? Like you just need to give up. You're like, why are you even trying this? And here's what I realized: when you have the dream and the vision, you can get overexcited to share it.
Yeah.
Because you're living in that. And we pull that, you like this, for those of you, the listeners that have a faith background. I'm a person of faith, so that's my foundation. That's where I speak from. So, but you see that in the life of Joseph. He had a dream of how God was going to use him, and he immediately shared it. Maybe there was some arrogance. Maybe there were some things in his life, immaturity, not a lot of wisdom in how to do it. But he threw it out there, and no one accepted it. And the thing of it is, those closest to him did not accept it. Mm-hmm. And there's where discouragement can hit us, because we can have a vision, and we can have I want to do this with my business. I want to change careers. I want to do this with my relationships. I want to do this. I want to work in this ministry at church, and that burns with you, and you throw it out there, and those closest to you will be your greatest opponents.
Yeah.
And you'll get so discouraged in it. Mm-hmm. And what we have to realize that once the promise is given to you, once the vision is placed, because here's the thing, what's placed inside of you, nobody else can do. Now, that does not mean that God's purpose will not be fulfilled, because if you don't step up to the challenge, he will bring another person in that spot. That's the cold hard facts. Mm-hmm. So we have to recognize the invitation we have to join what he's doing, and that's called a purpose and a vision that he puts in our life. So here's the thing: once that happens, then the problems are going to come. How do I want to say this? If you did not have a vision for your life, you would not have the courage to endure the problems you face. See, the problems are going to be there. And without purpose to them, you lose your endurance. But if you know there's a purpose and you know there's a vision for your life, when the hard things hit, you know to push through it because what's on the other side of it. So here's the thing. When those things begin to happen, the ones closest to Joseph, but no, you're not up for this task. We're going to make sure of it. See what happens, those closest to you judge you by what they know about you.
Mm-hmm.
See, those closest to you, they know your failures. They know your habits. They know your hang-ups. They know your ego. They know your struggles. They know your attitude. And when your vision is greater than those things, they judge you based on what they know about you, not what God knows about you. So then it begins to be a conflict. How do I find encouragement in this? How do I find how do I grow? How do I tell someone I want to start a business? How do I tell those close to me? Because they're going to be like, man, you barely made it out of high school. You're a good second man. You'll do good. You need to get your job and you'd make a good manager for somebody. But this is just burning in you like I need to do this because they're basing what they know about you, and they feed that in. They feed that into you. And here's the thing. Here's what I've discovered. A lot of times, those people that come against your vision, the root of that attack is because they have no vision for themselves.
Yeah.
What I don't see in me, I won't see in you.
Yeah.
If I have no reason to get up and go tomorrow, why do I want Cory Lee to get up and go? we just need to figure out a way we can just stay comfortable today.
Mm-hmm.
If I can just remain comfortable, when you hear folks say things like, I just got all I need. I got enough to survive and the Lord's blessed me with that. And I'm just content with that. Here's what I hear. It's just about me and my survival. And I really have no vision to do anything else. Mm-hmm. My prayer for me, my wife and I, Baby Cakes and I, every morning when we do our prayer, and we do this thing, we anoint each other with oil, and we have our family prayer, just she and I, and in our prayer is that God blesses the businesses we serve with opportunities to serve the people that business serves. And this is what we pray: Lord, bless us with more than we need, so we can be a blessing to others. Folks, we can't give what we don't have. And if you're content with not having, your dream will never happen. But as I was saying, those folks that are close to you, that judge you based on what they know about you, they're the ones going to attack you the most.
Yeah.
And that's where that discouragement. But when your dream is yours and you own it, and you begin to craft it and define it, and you begin to work that thing down. See, here's the thing. Oh man, I got to say this. Those folks that threw Joseph in the pit, his brothers, every one of those men had callings and promises and visions for their lives. You realize who was standing around that pit? Judah was standing there.
Yep.
Judah, the praise, the element of praise that we base our praise and our worship is just birthed out of Judah. Judah had no idea that the lion of the tribe of Judah would be born out of his lineage. He didn't see his dream. He was killing somebody else's. See, standing around that pit, there was Dan. And the promise that came to Dan was that the scepter would never leave his hand. And out of him, see, Dan had no idea that Gideon was going to be one of his descendants. He had no idea Samson would be one of his descendants. He did not realize his own dream, so he's killing his brother's dream.
Mm-hmm.
Those closest to you have callings and dreams on their lives, and they may not realize it yet, so they'll squash yours.
Mm.
So here's is this okay? We're doing all right?
Yeah,
okay,
go.
All right. So because I want whoever's listening, whoever's tuned into the Cory Lee podcast today, and you're downloading this and you're going to take and absorb it. I want you to leave with a nugget that says your dream and your calling will be fulfilled if you'll see it through.
Mm.
Endure that process. I heard one of my favorite preachers. He made this statement. He said, if you're going to experience the dream, you have to endure the nightmare.
Mm.
That's the thing. All right. So how do you take care of that? How do you do that? And here's what I thought of. I talk about my dad a lot. I miss him every day. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about him in some capacity. And I can remember, like I said, I'm 56. I remember when I first got my driver's license. You know how that is as a teenager? Man, you can't wait. Can I borrow the car? Can I go? Can I do? Well, my dad, he always loved, my dad was a big guy. He was a big fluffy guy. He always said he was built for comfort, not speed. He wasn't the athletic cut guy. He just built for comfort. So anyway, he always loved big cars. We always had a big car. Well, family, for all my brothers and all that. Anyway, my dad had a Lincoln Town car that he had picked up and had ordered. It came with a aftermarket engine it was one of the police interceptor engines, and all those things they had put in this Lincoln thing would run, man. And it was one of the big ones. Like we're talking about back in the day when the back seat looked like the sofa in the living room. It was huge. And so plain, man, he loved that car. Well, there was one night when a buddy of mine, Travis, was coming to spend the night with me. We were going to watch movies and just snack out. So my dad let us run up to the store. In here in the South, we have stores called Piggly Wiggly. You never shopped till you shopped at a Piggly Wiggly. So Travis and I, Pop gives me the keys to the car, and he lets us run to Piggly Wiggly. And we go in there, man, we're getting chips and snacks. We're just loading up on stuff to go. And there's 3 or 4 guys, a couple of women in front of us checking out. And we're just in line. And that's all that was in the store. It was late at night, and we were just making a late night snack run. And they walk out ahead of us, and we pay for stuff. Well, they walk by the car, and Dad's antenna that was sticking up on the car, one of the guys take it, and he just bends it. For what? I have no idea why. And he takes that thing and he gnarls it all up. And Travis looks at me and he goes, "Oh no, man." He's like, "Your dad's going to kill us." He knows how he felt about the car. And I said, "No." I said, "We're going to go show him." He said, "No, we need to see if we can straighten it out." I said, "No, don't touch it. Don't touch it." So we go back to the house, and I go inside. We put our stuff down, and Pop was in the bedroom. So I walked back there. I said, "Can you walk outside for a minute? I want to show you something." And he come walking out, and I showed him the antenna. I said, we went in the store, came out. There was folks ahead of us, walked right by the car. Don't know why he did it, but you need to know. Here it is. He said, "Get in the car, boys." No idea what it was about. I was all right. So me and Travis, we load up. We head to Piggly Wiggly. My dad goes in there, and the cashier, little lady's, she's there, and he comes in and he says, "You see this boy?" He was in here a few minutes ago. There was the people ahead of him. Do you know who that was? And she said, oh yeah, I know who that was. And she called, well, I'll just a random name. That was Joe. You know where Joe lives? Well, if you go out here, I think it's house. And she says where to go. He goes, thank you very much. I'm thinking, what is about to happen? I mean, here's my dad, warm and fluffy, and he's this lovable guy, you know. And we load up in the car, and sure enough, we drive. He finds the house, and the driveway drops down off. It drops down off the road, goes back in this house, sitting back to itself. And we pull down there, and there's 4 or 5 guys sitting up on the porch, and they're out there, they're drinking, they're doing all those things. My dad, he opens the door, he says, just wait right here. And he goes up to the counter, and he up to the porch, and he asks, he says, is Joe around here? Nobody knew Joe. We don't know Joe. Who's Joe? He ain't here. All right. My dad comes sat back down in the car. Well, about that time, there was a vehicle parked right next to the porch of their house. And this guy, he's kind of leaned back like this, and he sits up. And when he sits up, the street light catches the side of his face. And I see him. And I tell my dad, for some reason, I said, that's Joe right there. He said, sitting in that car. Okay, he opens the door right back up. He walks over to that car, and about that time, 3 or 4 of those guys stand up on the porch. And I'm thinking, oh no, my dad, he's fixing to get beat down, killed. I don't know what. Travis, like, what are we going to do? Mm-hmm. And with such a confidence, with an authority tone in his voice, he looked at those men on the porch. He said, gentlemen, sit down. I didn't come to talk to you. I need to see him.
Hey guys, I hope you are enjoying this episode of the Cory Lee Show. Y'all, I am on a mission to build leaders and to transform culture. So if you're looking for a speaker who speaks directly to the heart, a mentor to come alongside you and your team, or if you're in a position where you're looking for a personal coach who embraces where you are and also believes in who you could become, then I would be honored to walk this path with you. Simply reach out to me on my email at Cory@CoryLeeLeadership.com. Look, let's make your vision a reality. Contact me, and together we'll navigate the path from aspiration to achievement. Your transformation, it starts now.
They sat down. It was like, yes, sir. Yes. And so the guy, he lets the window down, and he asks, he says, you Joe? Yes. And this is all my dad said. He pointed over to the car, and he said, you see that car right there? Yes, sir. He said, that's my car. You see that boy sitting in that car? Yes, sir. That's my boy. When they go to town, I expect both of them to come back in the same condition. Do we have an understanding? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And he got in the car and took us home. In that moment, I realized my dad was the defender and the protector of what was his. Mm. Regardless of the odds, regardless of being outnumbered, he staked out his territory. He set his boundaries, and he set the limitations. You know, and later on, I could go to town, and if I saw that guy, he'd go on the other side of the sidewalk. There was never another issue. Don't even know why that one was there. I have no idea to this day. But here's the lesson. Here's what I want to leave the folks. What if that boy in that car is your dream and your calling? And every time you go to town, it gets damaged, and it gets defaced, and it gets violated. At what point are you going to stand up and say, you see this dream? This is my dream. You see this calling? This is my calling. Mm-hmm. And when I step out on it, I expect it to come home in the same condition. Mm-hmm. And you set the boundaries of that negative talk. You set the boundaries of that negative You're not going to make it. You're not worthy. You don't deserve this. Have you seen the economy? Have you seen the state of our world? Have you seen what's going on? Why do you think this will succeed? At some point, you're going to have to set the boundary and say, no, this is mine and I will protect it.
Mm-hmm.
So just like that dream Joseph had, and there he is at a pit, and you come through, you come through Dan, and you work the process, and there's Gideon standing, and he's you talking about dysfunctional. He's threshing wheat in a wine press, hiding out, surviving on what he could survive on. And at some point, when he didn't believe what was good about him, the angel came to him and said, "You mighty man of valor." Oh, not me. Not I mean, I'm the least in my family. My family's the least in the tribe. The tribe is the least in all the nation, and the nation ain't nothing to speak of. You talking about some negative self-talk. But he stood his ground. So I want to encourage your listeners today. The dream and the vision they have, that thing that keeps you up at night, not your worries, but that thing you want to accomplish, protect it, defend it. That's the lesson I learned from my dad, not by what he taught me, but by what I watched him live.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have any questions for me, sir? I know I went on a rant.
Yeah, no, that was good, Chuck. Something I was thinking about. I recently read David and Goliath account, right, in First Samuel 17. Something interesting stood out to me this time. You know, David, he goes up to the camp to see the battle, and when he gets there, he hears all the giant talking, right, and all the people running around afraid. But he hears the people say, "Hey, what is the man who goes and takes out this giant, he's going to get to be wealthy. He gets to marry the king's daughter. So he's going to be royalty, and he ain't never got to pay taxes again." And David's like, "Say what? Come again?" And he asked the people, but what happens as he's asking the people, his brother comes up and says something to him. And that's what you were talking about. Those people who try to cut you down. And it hurts more when it comes from the people closest to you, right? The people who
Right.
should support your dream. His oldest brother comes to him and he says, "Who'd you leave those few sheep with? I know your insolence of heart. I know your pride and your arrogant," right? But then check out David's response. This is why I bring this up, because it goes into what you're saying. David says, "Isn't there a cause? Isn't there a cause," right? And like that dream inside of you, and you're talking about that passion inside of you, isn't there a cause? It is there for a purpose and a reason. I've heard you say something, maybe you can say it better than what I was going to say, is like God saw a problem and he created you. Yeah, what you mean by that, Chuck?
Well, here's the thing. Here's what we have to realize. The problem always exists before the answer comes. Now, religion, church, has always taught me that the answer is there before the problem. They'll say, and I understand that theologically, that God is the answer to our problems. I get that. But we actually, that has been flipped. Is that the problem always exists before the answer. And here's what I mean by that. There has never been there's never been an inventor that came up with a concept for something, and they get the patent for it, they draw the plans, they build a factory, they put together an assembly line, they hire a team, and they fire it up, and they begin to run production, and this thing goes through the whole process, and it spits out on the end of that production line, and they all gather around, and they say, "Well, that thing looks good. I think that's the best one I've ever seen. What does it do?" And everybody goes, "We don't know, but we made a good one." Never happened. See, a manufacturer, an inventor, a creator, a creative mind sees a problem, and they say, "You know what? I think I can come up with something to fix that. I think I can. If I can tweak this right, we can make something answer that, and he creates something and produces it, and it becomes the answer to a problem. So what that tells us, we have a creator that has designed every one of us, and he designed us for a specific problem that has already been on this planet. And when we do not know what we are designed for, we get frustrated and we fill that void with other things.
Mm-hmm.
But once you know your purpose, you know what you're here to do, then your job, the what that you do simply becomes the vehicle that you use to fulfill your why. That's the power of that process. It's when look, and you're talking about when those closest to you discourage you because they know you the best. They know your failures. They, like I said at the beginning, they know you and they judge you based on what they know about you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But what does the enemy know about you? What is the enemy saying? And when I use that word enemy, the enemy of your vision, the enemy of your calling, the enemy of your soul, or let's just cook that down to what is your competitors saying about you? What are they saying when you think you're defeated? Let's revisit Gideon. Now he goes through this process and he does all these things for his, and he still hits these discouraging moments by those people around him. And God tells him, he says, why don't you slip over into the camp and go listen to what they're doing? So him and another guy, they go into the camp of the enemy, and they nuzzle up, says they get to a tent, and they're sitting there. I see them with their backs against this tent, and they hear this conversation. And in this conversation, what they're saying about Gideon is that they've had this, this dream, this vision of this big cake rolling through the camp and wiping it out. And they're in there scared. They said, Gideon's going to come. He's going to come obliterate us. And Gideon looks at his guy. He goes, let's go. Let's go. See, what you have to understand, the enemy is more afraid of you than you realize.
Mm-hmm.
Those competitors that are trying to defang or those things in your business, what they're really saying is they know you're a person of purpose. You're a kingdom-minded entrepreneur. You're on a kingdom mission, and that can worry them.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you need to know what your enemy says about you more than you need to know what those closest to you are saying about you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good. And, something I talk about in our leadership training is it's not a good idea to compare ourselves to the competition. We don't want to compare, but we do want to be aware. Like when we begin to compare, what we do is respond and react. And that's kind of what you're talking about. You talking about Gideon when he was maybe comparing or afraid of the competition or the enemy, it caused him to be inactive. Well, whenever he was aware, it caused us to respond or innovate and create, right? And so being aware of what the competition is doing, that's totally cool. But I think when we start to compare, we end up responding and reacting instead of innovating and creating. And that's some good stuff, Choco. I like it. I like it, man. Well, I would love to hear from you. Like, when I hear that and people may be listening, is like, okay, well, yeah, that sounds good, Cory and Chuck. Purpose. Well, how do I discover my purpose? Like, what is that? And I mean, I know I feel like I'm here for a reason, but what is that reason? How do I discover that? Any thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, there, and actually, I'm putting together a course.
Come
on discovering your purpose.
Let's go.
And a checklist and all those things that will be ready. That we can put some links on in there, and that will be ready. And there's actually a process that you work through. And a 10,000-foot view is what is the things that you cry about?
Yeah.
What are the things that make you happy? What are the things that drive you every day?
Mm-hmm.
What are the things you wish other people had in their lives? Mm-hmm. What do you see missing in their life? These are indications of a problem you're supposed to solve.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we determined years ago that when we go out to eat, when we go shopping, when what in those, we have predetermined that we're going to be known as good customers.
Yeah, man.
Now, and here's where that comes from. You're talking about discovering your purpose. You go into a place and you say, well, man, you get bad service there, or there's this or that or whatever. I see what's missing. So I want to compensate and be known as the good customer that begins to elevate. Now, there are places we go and eat that are regular places for us. And our service is never bad. There are
Yep.
places we shop, and there are certain clerks and certain people that are on duty, we never have bad service because it has created we answered a problem that they were dealing with, these customers that you can never make happy. You see,
Oh,
I
I
know
know
that's
all
a very
about it.
simple thing, but
Yeah,
so
no,
so to discover your purpose is to find what do you see missing in people's lives. Become that.
yeah.
I've interviewed, and I actually read a survey years ago, but I've interviewed just on my own waitresses, servers, whatever the correct term is on what they're. My mom, she was a truck stop waitress, so I grew up. That's what she did. She worked the midnight shift at a truck stop,
Wow.
serving truckers coming through, and there were many nights I spent in a booth when there wasn't a sitter, and my dad would be gone maybe to go preach or something like that, and I would have to go to work with her, and I spend the night on a blanket in a booth, and I watched her serve people coming in, and I can remember one of my best memories of this is that when those guys would come in, they would ask at the door, "What section is Jackie working?" Because they knew she was going to she was going to take it, but she created that. So I learned that by watching her. So here's my point: when you create that environment to become a good customer. I was talking waitresses, and here's the thing. One of the questions was, what is the best time to work, and what is the worst time to work? That's gonna blow your mind. Their best times, Friday and Saturday. They said everybody's had a few. They're enjoying life, man. They are fired up. They said the worst time, Sunday afternoons.
Mm-hmm. I've heard. Yeah.
They said the church crowd, you can't make them happy, and they're horrible tippers.
Mm-hmm.
And that hit me so hard. I'm like, we represent a kingdom mindset. We represent a better way to live. We represent kingdom businesses. And yet we're known as a group as the worst customers to try to serve.
Mm-hmm.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
So that was the seed that we planted with ourselves to become good customers. So my point back to, if people are looking for a way, how do I discover that? How I do that? Well, I have a plan laid out. I have steps that you can take, workbook you can go through. All this is in play to be put together, and it will be available, and you can download, get those things. But that's coming.
Yeah. I like it. And I agree, when you start looking at purpose, it's really those things that kind of stand out to you and really taking awareness of that. Like, there are some movies that I'll watch and that really just stir me, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, and those are what you're saying, those are all clues. The things that sometimes can frustrate you, those are clues. Some of the things that you're passionate about, and those are all clues. That's what you're saying. And when you get those clues, being aware of those clues and just kind of sitting with that. Yeah, I like that, Chucko. Good stuff.
I'll say this. Another indication is when if you can't find what your purpose is, what is missing. How I said that. You remember I just said, look at what is missing. So here's what I mean by that. When purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable.
Mm.
If you do not know the purpose of an object, of a thing, it's inevitable that object will be abused. Now, abuse, you look at it as a compound word, which is abnormal use. Mm. If you do not know the purpose of a relationship, it will be an abusive relationship. Mm. It will be abnormally used. If you do not know the purpose of a child, that child can experience abuse, abnormal use. You see what I'm saying? If you do not know the purpose of your life, you will abnormally live your life, and it will be an abusive life. But when you know purpose, I've used the analogy over and over and over. I think I did it last time, but I collect fountain pens. Now, this fountain pen, the purpose, it was invented to make writing, instead of a quill and a bottle of ink, now it's in a tube and you can use it. Now, you could take, it has a sharp point. I could actually take this, if I didn't know what it was actually for, and I could go to a sheetrock wall and take a hammer and drive this pen into the sheetrock and hang a picture on it. And it would hold the picture.
Yeah.
It would be successful in being a hanger. But it's not in its intended purpose, so therefore it is being abused. It's being abnormally used. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people can be successful in what they're doing, but they're out of purpose. So they live an abusive, frustrated feeling. So I encourage you, discover your purpose and defend it and stand your ground.
Defend it. That's my car and that's my boy. Yeah, I like it.
And I expect them to come home the same way they left.
That's it, right? Chucko, I'm 100% with you, man. I believe every person that is listening, they've been created on purpose, for a purpose, and that mistakes, mess ups, failures, all that's events, not identity statements. And so I appreciate you, Chuck. Hey, so say somebody's listening and is like, man, I want to connect with old Chuck. Boy, I'll tell you what, he sounds like good old, like you said, what'd you say, cornbread and biscuits or something? Like, I want to connect with that man. Or I want to find out more about your purpose thing that you've got put together. How do people connect with you, Chuck?
All right, you can just go to parishleadership.com. And when you open that up, there's a contact me tab. Hit that, and you just send me a note, and I will respond to you. You can find me on Facebook, naturally, Instagram, all those places, on X or Twitter or whatever that. All your standard places. You just look for Chuck Parish on there, but parishleadership.com, and go to the contact page, and you just punch that in, and that way you can, if you put in there, I want to know my purpose, I will know what you're looking for, and we will get you set up. And if you're in the area, just come see us January.
There you go. We'd love to see you, right? I like that. Chuck, we'll have the links in the show note, but say maybe somebody's driving down the road and they are listening. And how would they spell Parish?
Parish.
There you go. One R.
One R.
Yep.
One R.
Parish Leadership, y'all. Well, Chuck, man, you've added a ton of value, a lot of nuggets. I just want to say, appreciate you. You are someone that, I know I say it a good bit to you, and truly want to just honor you. You are someone who elevates those around them. You do expect the best and bring out the best in people. Your eyes light up a room. I can tell that you enjoy life. And man, just honored to call you a friend, honored to have you on the podcast, and just thank you for being with us today, buddy.
Thank you. Great to be back with you.
Yeah. Well, guys, I know Chuck has added value to you. Feel free to leave some comments. Feel free to reach out to Chuck. We'll have the links in the show notes below. But make sure you like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with all the latest episodes. And you can get to hear from amazing folks like Chuck O. I call him Chucky P sometimes, Chuck O. Chuck, my kids make fun of me because I get everybody a nickname. It's like, you know what? If I like you, you get a nickname, all right? And so anyway, make sure you like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with any of the latest episodes. And feel free to share it with a friend and family member. And so you guys have a great day, and God bless.
3, 2, 1. Okay.
Thanks for joining me today. I hope I have added value to you. And if you have found value in this episode, let me know. Drop a comment and make sure you share with a friend or family member. See you next episode.